Hi, welcome back. Thanks for dropping in again. And if you're new, hello, my name is Tracy and welcome to my home here in Sussex, England. In fact, welcome to my car because we're going shopping today. We're going to go down to a local town and we're going to go thrift shopping around the charity shops, as we call them here in the UK. There's also quite a few antique places down there, so we're going to have a rummage around that. Plus it's viewing day at the auctions, so we're going to pop in there, see if there's anything I want to leave any bids on. And if we do find anything, then we're going to be doing makeovers and, of course, styling in my home. Welcome to Lewes, home to the oldest brewery in the county, a castle, priory, historical buildings, and the UK's largest and most famous bonfire night festivities. In fact, Lewes is the bonfire capital of the world. It's also home to lots of lovely little antique stores. Now, I say little, this looks very small, but it's actually over 5 floors. So it goes the full depth and the full height of the building. We start off down in the cellar and up we go until we get to the very, very top. And you can actually see out over the roofs when you go up to the attic, and all of it is used for retail space. Prices vary wildly because it's full of lots of different traders. So I would always say don't discount places like this because you think they're going to be super expensive and the charity shops are going to be cheaper. Sometimes it does work like that. For example, this dish, I've seen this much lower. £275 is a little bit juicy for me. Same with these earthenware pots and the trugs. Now, if you remember in one of my earlier videos, I got one for free at the auctions. They were throwing it away. £65 in here. I'm setting myself a challenge today to try and find about half a dozen items, most of which that I can flip. Now, again, if you remember in one of my earlier videos, I got a printer tray, so they'd put all the blocks in here. £48. I got it in a bundle at auction for, I think it was £20, and there were 5 items in there. So always be careful, you know, have a price point in your mind that you want to spend and don't go above it because it'll always turn up again somewhere else. Now let's go hit the charity shops. We're going to leave the charity shops now and head over to the auction house as it's viewing day. Let's go see what they've got. Quite a mixed bag there, so I'm going to leave 5 bids. The auctioneer will bid on my behalf on the auction tomorrow morning. Ooh, that was fun. So what did I get? Let me show you the first item. Well, first items, I got 3 of the candlesticks. So this was £3. That's kind of the price point I would pay for a brass candlestick. I don't need to do anything with that apart from give it a good wash. So that's good. These two, £7 for the pair, so £3.50 each. So again, good price point, really heavy, very good quality, but too shiny for me. So I'm going to show you a technique that I use to age brass, age metal. It's super simple. You don't need to go out and spend lots of money on specialist products or anything like that. You just go to your pantry cupboard. So I'll show you that. Now, next item is the bars. They wanted £15 for this. Well, that's too much for me. I would never pay more than 10 for something like this. So when I took it to the checkout, I asked if they would take 10. They said, yes, we did a deal. This is going to get a stone technique applied to it. And I've got a couple of ideas of different things to use other than what I normally use. Next item, the dish. Now, I've had my eye on this for a while. It was overpriced at £15. There is a crack in it. Don't be put off if things are damaged because, for example, if you use this stone technique that I'm going to use on this, then it completely covers all of this. And how much did I pay for it? £3. Absolute bargain. Next item, I bought the plant stand. So I'm thinking big candlestick. So I need to get the sander on this, see what's underneath, and then I'll work out how I'm going to finish it. But for £5, fabulous candlestick. Next item. It's the copper dish. Oh, this is just so quirky, so unusual. It's definitely a unique piece. I did ask if they'd take 15. They weren't interested in 15, so I got it for 18. And to be honest, for copper, I could probably sell it to the scrap man for more than that. So this one doesn't need anything doing to it. It just needs a wash and then style it. So whilst we're waiting to hear from the auctions, we'll get on and we'll start making over these. First up is the £3 dish, and I'm going to do a stone technique on this. I use quick drying wall filler and then I add different ingredients. I've got a new one this week. So the soil compost, the cayenne pepper, you've seen me use that before. I recently brought out chili flakes and coffee. Oh, the smell. Now I'm going to look at using grout. This is actually left over from when I did the kitchen floor. So I mix up the wall filler just with a little bit of water to start with. It's quick drying, so I only ever do it in relatively small batches because it does go off quickly. Once you get it to that nice gloopy stage, you just literally slap it on and you keep on working it around. Now, the camera angle wasn't so great when I was doing the underside of the dish, so I flipped it over and now I'll show you the full process on the inside. I'm working the soil or the compost in and then some of the grout. I'm using the grout dry because it will react with the moisture in the wall filler. The patting motion that I do is really to try and work all the different ingredients in. I often get asked, do you then coat it with a varnish? Don't the bits all fall off? Well, actually no, on both counts, because if it's not in a high touch area, there's no need to seal it. And if you press the ingredients in well enough to the wall filler, they stick. I like to switch to clean gloves at the end just to make sure I can get everything smoothed down. And if it's a bit of a dull day, a bit of a high moisture day, I bring out a hairdryer or a heat gun. Now this needs to dry overnight, so while I let this one start going off, I will make a start on the vase, and I always start upside down, bottom first. Done slightly different ingredients on this one. I've done more of the grout. I haven't used the cayenne pepper, but I've added just a few of the chili flakes and a little bit of coffee. Now onto the plant stand. Now I would have loved this to have been oak, but it's not. I think it's actually an old spindle, and the end of the spindle has been cut down and then some pine added to it to create this stand, which is, you know, really quite genius. So I actually have no qualms about slapping paint all over it, and I'm going with my Annie Sloan chalk paint on Fleur. Big paintbrush as well, because I want to slather this baby up. I'm going for lots of texture, so I'm not brushing, I'm stippling, and I'm just going to keep on applying the paint really thickly. And this is the first coat and the kind of texture that you can get. So I'm not going to let it dry off completely. I'm going in with my second coat and just helping the drying process start by using a heat gun. You could use a hairdryer, and all the time it's just helping create texture. I'm going to add a little bit more by using some builder's sand and really just have a play around with it. You know, if you don't experiment with techniques, then you never find out if you can do different things. I'm going to let this dry. I've just had an email from the auctions and we have one lot. The hammer came down at £42 on this old pine coffee table. Bertie doesn't want to sit next to it until it's all been done, so he's hiding down there in the footwell, not impressed. I think once upon a time this was a full height table, and then the legs have just been sawn down, which is a great tip if you want to make a larger coffee table and you find a great table, or you've already got one. I've done that with the table in the Snug, which was originally a dining room table. Now this is lovely old pine, so the paint is not coming out on this. However, I don't like this orangey varnish that's been put on it. Now I could use a paint stripper on this, but actually I think I am probably going to try and take this down gently with a sander. And gently is the key word here, because I don't want to rip into that gorgeous grain there. I want to take off some of the ring marks and take away that yellowy colour. It's actually full of cobwebs, so I'm going to give it a really good wash first and take the handle off the drawer, which will make it easier for sanding. Look at that cute wooden screw. I've got my big Merkur out with the extractor. This is a Merkur Deros, and I'm also going to do some hand sanding as well. Now I'm starting off at 180. As I say, I don't want to rip into that grain. I just want to ease off that yellowy colour. And actually it's just tickling it. It's not really doing much at all. So I'm going to change to a 120, and that seems to be doing the job. So I'm pleased with how that turned out, and now it's time for the wax. And if you've followed me for a while, you will know I'm a lover of white wax. I am going to cover this baby. It is desperate for some wax on it to feed the wood. When I put it on, I do it in lots of different strokes and then just smooth it all out. And as I always say with wax, give it a good 4 weeks to really fully cure. Now, while I've got that white wax out, I'm going to pop back onto the plant stand. This is going to get covered in the white because the enfleur is really quite a dark colour. Now, this looks quite scary when it first goes on. Trust me, it's not going to be that bright, that stark when it's finished. Once I'm happy with the effect that the wax has made, I'll leave it to dry. Now, let's move on to those candlesticks. So the cupboard ingredients I'm going to use is salt, any salt will do, and vinegar, any type of vinegar will do. If your piece has got a lacquer on, then it's not going to work. You need to take that off. Now, normally a little bit of nail varnish remover will do the trick. You just brush it on and quite quickly you start to see the effects of the acetone, which is obviously what's in nail varnish remover. And it just starts to lift that varnish and you can wipe it off. This one was a little bit of a tricky dicky. It was not playing ball with me. You can see how it started to react, but not good enough. So I'm going to have to bring out some paint stripper. It's not an expensive one. It will just be a little bit more powerful than the nail varnish remover. This is the first time really that I've had this kind of problem with it. So you just brush it on and leave it for about half an hour and then give it a wipe and you're good to go. So salt into a container and then add the vinegar. You don't want too much. It's not to submerge the item. It's really just probably a centimetre or two, half an inch, that type of thing at the bottom of your container. Using the same brush as before, I'm just going to wipe a little bit of the solution on just to start the process. Put the lid on nice and securely, give it a good shake. Every couple of hours, leave it overnight. the chemical reaction then should have happened. And after that, it's just a case of rinsing. Now, I did rotate the candlestick during the process just to create more of an even finish. Different items, different metals, different finishes, they all react in different ways, which actually makes it quite interesting. So I'm going to give both of these a rinse off, a dry, and then we're good to style.